the wedding nobody saw coming. The Texas sun burned golden over the wide fields of the Red River ranches, casting long shadows on the dry earth as Jeremiah Cole tightened the reins of his horse. A wiry, strong-built cowboy in his early 30s, Jeremiah had been breaking horses and fixing fences for over a decade now. Dirt poor, orphaned as a teen, and drifting between jobs, he'd never imagined a life beyond dusty boots and campfire meals. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Just a month ago, he'd taken a short-term job fixing irrigation pipes on the estate of the most powerful woman in the county, Eleanor Langston, a 65-year-old cattle baroness with a reputation as tough as saddle leather and a fortune as vast as her land. A widow twice over, she had no children, no close kin, and a ranch empire worth millions. People called her the Iron Rose of Texas. She didn't need a man, and she sure as hell didn't need a cowboy. Yet, something strange happened between Eleanor and Jeremiah. It began with polite conversations during lunch breaks, then long talks about the land, old country songs, and the dying ways of honest ranching. She was intelligent, proud, and lonely beneath all her fire. He was respectful, humble, and surprisingly philosophical for a man with calloused hands and a worn-out hat. The whole town nearly dropped dead when, 3 weeks after he'd started working for her, Eleanor announced her marriage to Jeremiah. "Love knows no age," she told the reporters, leaning confidently on her cane in front of the press, her silver hair catching the morning light. "Or race," Jeremiah had added, standing beside her in a borrowed tux, his deep brown eyes firm but kind. Everyone assumed the worst. "He's after her money." The whispers flew like wildfire. "She's senile. She won't last a year," others muttered. And then came the jokes, crude, cruel, and constant. But Jeremiah didn't care. Eleanor had given him a home, and more than that, she believed in him. She had seen beyond his ragged shirt and dark skin, and for the first time in his life, someone had looked at him with both trust and admiration. The wedding was small. Only 2 neighbors attended. No family. No music. Just 2 old souls, one weathered by years, the other by hardship, promising to walk through the storm together. On their wedding night, Eleanor insisted they sleep in separate rooms. "There's something I need to tell you, Jeremiah," she said. Her voice was soft, but there was steel beneath it. "But not yet. Give me 5 days. Just 5 days. Then I'll show you everything." Jeremiah didn't question her. He was used to waiting. 5 days of quiet dinners, shared coffee at dawn, and the hum of ranch life carrying on like always. But on the 5th day, everything changed. Eleanor vanished. She left no note, no trace, just a locked room at the far end of the house he had never entered, and a key with his name on it. The secret of the Red River widow. Jeremiah stood outside the old oak door, the weight of the brass key like a brick in his palm. The hallway smelled of cedar and lemon oil. He could hear the wind howling softly through the cracks in the walls. His fingers trembled slightly as he inserted the key into the lock. Click! The door swung open with a creak that echoed like a gunshot. Inside, it looked nothing like the rest of the house. Where the rest of the ranch was modest and rustic, this room was lavish. Antique furniture, velvet curtains, and a massive safe bolted into the stone wall. But the thing that struck Jeremiah the most was the portrait above the fireplace. It was of Eleanor, but not as the old woman he'd married. She was young in the painting, beautiful, fearless, and beside her stood a man who looked almost exactly like him. Jeremiah staggered back. It couldn't be. He tore his eyes from the painting and approached the desk beneath it. On it sat a leather-bound book, a diary. Inside were pages and pages written in Eleanor's elegant handwriting. As he read, the truth unfolded like a wild Western tale. Eleanor hadn't just been a cattle baroness. She'd been part of an underground network during the 1970s and 80s that had fought against corrupt landowners and racial injustice in Texas. She'd been married before, not to oil tycoons as the rumors said, but to a black civil rights leader named Thomas Cole, Jeremiah's father. He read the name again and again. It was impossible. He'd never known his parents, just scattered stories of a fire and a family lost. But the diary explained it all. Eleanor and Thomas had fallen in love during a time when it was dangerous. They built a secret ranch haven together, for orphans, for freedom fighters, for anyone the law had forgotten. But enemies came. The ranch was burned. Thomas was killed. Eleanor had faked her identity and spent the next 40 years rebuilding, waiting for the child that had been lost in the chaos. "You're not just my husband," the final page read. "You're my son's son. You're the heir to the legacy we bled for." Jeremiah sat stunned. She had found him. Somehow, she had tracked him, watched him, waited until he was strong enough to carry the truth, and then married him, not out of romance, but as a legal way to transfer everything to him without a fight from the state or distant, greedy relatives. The vault held documents, land titles, ownership rights, bank accounts. Eleanor had hidden everything in his name. And now, with her gone, he was the sole owner of the largest black-owned ranch in the American South. But that wasn't the part that shook him most. In the corner of the room, another letter waited, fresh ink, sealed with a red ribbon. He opened it slowly. "Jeremiah, if you're reading this, I am gone. I didn't tell you sooner because I needed you to find strength without knowing. But you're more than a cowboy. You're a Cole, and Coles don't run. This land, this legacy, is yours now. Use it to build what we couldn't. Raise the flag we dropped. Protect it, son. And remember, love isn't always roses and kisses. Sometimes it's sacrifice." Eleanor. Tears rolled down his cheeks. The poor black cowboy had married a cattle baroness. But in truth, she had been his grandmother, his guardian, his silent warrior. And in 5 days, she had given him a legacy. He stepped out onto the porch as the sun rose over the Red River Valley. The workers were waiting. Word had already spread. He cleared his throat. "This ranch is staying open. For everyone. Same way it was meant to be." And as the morning light touched the old land, Jeremiah Cole became more than a cowboy. He became the keeper of a forgotten fire.